So, the first Conservative leadership debate just happened, and it was a spectacle, to say the least.
The average trucker has more integrity in his pinky finger than you had in your entire scandal-plagued Liberal cabinet.
Longtime viewers of this channel might remember how I feel about Pierre Poilievre.
The man, the myth, the legend, Pierre Poilievre. We love him because he constantly calls out liberal BS, best explained by the gem himself, Pierre Poilievre.
This beautiful specimen is now set to win the Conservative leadership and take on Justin Trudeau in the next election. But first, he has to deal with this guy.
Pierre Poilievre supported the blockade. Here is someone who makes laws and says, I can break laws because I'm above the law. That's not just a failure in leadership, it disqualifies you.
Now, nobody else is really a threat to Poilievre at this point, but I guess he wanted to put another nail into the coffin and show voters exactly how he's going to take on Justin Trudeau.
I want to start with the trucker convoy. It's something we've already been discussing. You've been criticized for your support for the trucker convoy. One of your fellow candidates has even said you should be disqualified for leadership of the party based on your engagement with the convoy. Has your opinion on the trucker convoy changed since? And is your support of the truckers a liability moving forward?
No and no. My position has not changed. I said at the very outset before they even arrived that I simultaneously stood with the law-abiding and peaceful truckers who were fighting for their livelihoods and liberties while condemning any individual who breaks the law, blocks critical infrastructure, or behaves badly. Now, Mr. Charest learned about the trucker convoy on CBC, like other Liberals, and he misrepresented them. He believes that I should be censored. He believes I should be canceled from this leadership race and disqualified, in his words, because I don't share his liberal viewpoint. That is the kind of cancel culture and censorship you would expect from Justin Trudeau, but instead we're getting it from this liberal on this stage. Frankly, Mr. Charest, for you to talk about law and order is a little bit rich, given that your party, your Liberal Party, took $500,000 of illegal donations when you were the head of that party. The average trucker has more integrity in his pinky finger than you had in your entire scandal-plagued Liberal cabinet.
Now, at this point, I think Charest realized the magnitude of what he had gotten himself into. So he decided to make a plea for mercy.
In this room tonight is Preston Manning, who called before this debate that we act respectfully in the view of uniting the party after the leadership race. Well, so much for that, Pierre. In this race, I stand with a record as a conservative all my life. I'll give you an example, Candace. I believe in fiscal conservatism. In fact, I reduced taxes in 2007-8, income taxes for middle-class, lower-income Quebecers, which was opposed by this person here, Pierre Poilievre. He was opposed to it back then. So enough of the hypocrisy. And on the Hill, this mess that we witnessed is the fault of Mr. Trudeau. But Mr. Poilievre, during that period, supported an illegal blockade. You cannot make laws and break laws and then say I will make laws for other people.
Poilievre's stance on the truckers was made clear earlier in the debate.
I simultaneously stood with the law-abiding and peaceful truckers who were fighting for their livelihoods and liberties while condemning any individual who breaks the law, blocks critical infrastructure, or behaves badly.
Because his stance is so clear, he can ignore the attack and go on offense instead.
Well, in addition to once again repeating a bunch of Trudeau rhetoric on our hardworking truckers, Mr. Charest misrepresents his track record on taxes. He raised the sales tax twice. I voted to cut them twice, Mr. Charest. He voted to raise the fuel tax, and that was on top of the consumer carbon tax he brought in. He left a $1 billion deficit and the biggest debt of any provincial government in Canada. That is not the record of a fiscal conservative. I fought for lower taxes and balanced budgets and making life more affordable, and that is how we're going to win the election in the suburbs, by giving people their purchasing power back, something that I can do because I have a strong track record of fighting for it my entire life.
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre.
I don't know about you, but I think Poilievre's style of politics is going to be Trudeau's pesticide. Watch how Poilievre takes accusations against him and rebuts them calmly with facts.
I went to lead a coalition in Quebec of Federalists when there was no Conservative Party of Quebec, ladies and gentlemen, as is the case in British Columbia. And you know what? I was successful. So Pierre, please, stop lying.
I'd like to respond to.
So we'll now do 3 minutes of open debate, and I'm going to start with Mr. Poilievre to respond to what was just said, and then we'll do 3 minutes of open debate.
Look, it's your record that was liberal, Jean. You governed like a liberal. When you raised the sales tax, not once, but twice. Then you bring in a fuel tax. And then you decide that gas prices are still not high enough, and you pile on a carbon tax. And then you raise income tax in the form of something you called a health tax. That is not conservative, no matter what you call it. It's not your name as a party that was liberal. It was your track record of more debt, higher taxes, and more expensive government that was liberal, Mr. Charest. You can try to run from your record all you want, but the reality is that's what you did when you were there. I could go down the list of all the liberal policies that you brought in that you're trying to hide from today, but we don't have enough time to go through them all. I am a true conservative. I've stood for the same things my entire life. I'm not just putting on temporarily a blue shirt to cover up a red shirt underneath it in order to take over the party.
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre. Let's go to you, Mr. Charest.
No, we don't have to go down a long list. Why did you oppose the fact that I reduced income taxes? Yes, you were part of a government that opposed. You can't rewrite history, Pierre. You can't rewrite the facts to fit your rhetoric. You were part of the government that opposed the fact that I reduced income taxes.
What are you talking
yes
about?
or no?
No, I did not. I was not. I never commented on your income.
Fine.
Frankly, Mr. Charest, you didn't cut income tax, so there was no income tax cut to oppose. You raised taxes. You raised consumption taxes.
Excuse me?
You raised health taxes. Furthermore, Mr. Charest,
if you can't get that right, how can you get the rest right?
Mr. Charest,
we reduced income taxes, and the credit rating agencies actually said that that's what allowed Quebecers to come through the Great Recession much better than anyone else. If you're ready to misrepresent those facts, what other facts are
you left Quebec the most indebted province in all of Canada. That is your record on finance. You raised the sales tax. No one will trust you in an election on inflation. I cut the GST. And if you take a minute to stop attacking the Harper government, which is the party that all of us are supposed to be part of, then maybe you would recognize all of the good that that man did for this country.
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre.
To me, the next few years look crystal clear. Poilievre will win the leadership. He will easily handle Justin Trudeau and will win government. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to share this video.